In Afghanistan's rugged and war-torn land, a relentless war has raged on for decades, claiming countless lives and leaving a lasting impact on its people and the world at large. It is a war where survival often means sacrificing everything, where the line between heroism and tragedy is blurred, and where the resilience of individuals is put to the ultimate test. John Kinley, an American soldier, and Ahmed Abdullah, an Afghanistan citizen and an interpreter for the U.S. soldiers, two individuals with different backgrounds, crossed paths in this raging war and found themselves in a situation that demanded to know how far one person was willing to go for another. After the 9/11 terror attacks, the American government deployed its armed forces to Afghanistan to combat terrorism. But these military troops didn't understand the native language of Afghanistan, Dari, and needed an interpreter to communicate with the locals. An interpreter plays a fundamental role in the mission of the Americans because if the foreign soldiers cannot speak the language, they won't be able to gain the confidence of the locals, and their inability to gain their confidence will result in their mission's failure. In reward for their job as interpreters, the locals are promised the eligibility to apply for special immigration visas to relocate to America. Given the dreadful situation in their home country, they will jump at such an opportunity. In March 2018, Sergeant John Kinley and his team were doing routine checkups at a checkpoint in Lashkar Gah when they stopped a suspicious truck. John Kinley and his team are assigned to find Taliban munitions and explosive sites, and in a bid to do that, they check the content of vehicles passing their designated checkpoints. The ECO and the platoon try to get an answer from the truck driver about the truck's contents, but he refuses to provide one. In an attempt to check the content by themselves, the truck explodes, taking the interpreters and the ECO's lives. The death of the U.S. troops interpreter creates the need for another one. Returning to their base in Afghanistan, their superiors send another ECO to them. And John is introduced to a new interpreter, Ahmed Abdullah, a steadfast interpreter yet disliked by several other units. He previously worked as a mechanic. Ahmed claims he only wants the job for the money's sake. Since their deployment to Afghanistan, John and his team have been working hard to locate the Taliban sites, but their intel has been misleading. After another unsuccessful search, John pays a visit to Colonel Vokes at his base, seeking his assistance in getting reliable intel, and he does get one. With the intel, the team finds out the man who knows about the location of the sites. They kidnap him and bribe out the details from him. That night, John finds out that Ahmed used to work in the heroin trade with the Taliban but cut off all ties with them when they killed his son. With his former relationship with the Taliban, Ahmed knows the location of all covert Taliban militants and their hideouts. The next day, the team devises a plan to get to the first location of the AID, but the plan is influenced by the opinion of an Afghan soldier who works with them. He tells them to follow another route because the one they choose isn't in good shape. The team agrees since they didn't find it suspicious, but on their way, Ahmed stops them and tells John that the road is a trap. John didn't want to believe it at first, but upon searching the surroundings, the team reported noticing an ambush a few kilometers ahead. And the Afghan soldier reveals that his family is in Taliban captivity, which is why he betrayed them. The team cancels the mission and returns to their base. At night, Ahmed goes home to see his heavily pregnant wife. She asked him about the progress of his plan to get a visa for them, and he assures her that he is working on it. The next day, John and his team head to the second location, 120 kilometers away from their base. Ahmed's effort to save the team the day before earned him John's respect. Before they begin to search the site, John requests a couple of helicopters from Colonel Vokes, but he refuses to grant the request, so John and his team are on their own. The team rounded up everyone on the site, but they didn't see one of the Taliban militants who hid in a secluded place and informed their commander of the presence of the Americans. Acting on the information, the commander sends troops of militants to the mine, and they ambush John and his team. John has no choice but to retreat, and in doing so, he loses all his men except Ahmed. John and Ahmed manage to escape on foot, killing several Taliban fighters. From that moment, the duo is on the run, with the Taliban militants hunting for them like a savage. To escape danger, they have to reach their base, but it isn't an easy journey. They have to navigate through the mountainous Afghan terrain, which isn't an easy task. During this journey, John finds himself surrounded by 3 of the Talibans. They manage to wound him, and one of them clubs him with a rifle butt, rendering him unconscious. Ahmed comes to his rescue as he is about to be moved into their car. He manages to kill the Taliban and decides to take the slightly unconscious John back to their air base, but it's a long and stressful journey ahead. Ahmed puts John on a makeshift stretcher and drags him along for 2 days and 2 nights, making sure to hide from the Taliban searching for them. He stops at intervals to drink water and also to help John drink. On the 3rd day, Ahmed gets a car from a local giving him money in exchange and drives to the tent of some Afghans. The Afghans are sympathetic towards them and give him medication for John and a wooden cart in exchange for the car. Ahmed carries John over Afghanistan's treacherous mountain topography with the wooden cart while successfully evading the Taliban militants hunting for them. Several days later, Ahmed stops a few kilometers from the Bagram air base to get water for himself and John, but they are attacked by the Taliban militants who come to the vicinity at that moment. Ahmed kills the militants, and shortly after, some U.S. troops emerge. They take John back to America but leave Ahmed. Ahmed finds himself unfortunate as his relationship with the Taliban has been destroyed. He becomes a hero in the eyes of some, but a huge bounty has been put on his head by the Taliban for anyone who sees him and John. Ahmed can't live a normal life in the country anymore, he has to go into hiding. 3 weeks later, John, who had been returned to his home in Santa Clarita, California, regained his health. He doesn't know how he is saved, but he knows Ahmed played a role in it. Some days later, John learns from one of his colleagues, Declan, that Ahmed and his family are forced to move underground due to the duo's escapade having become local folklore to the detriment of the Taliban, who find their escape a shame on their power, and that his location remains secret. On hearing the news, John attempts to get U.S. visas for Ahmed and his family, but it proves abortive due to the bureaucracy of the U.S. government. For 35 days, his calls are put on hold every time he calls, and he becomes frustrated. The 36th time he tries, his call isn't attended to, and he gives up on getting a visa for them. However, John didn't have a peaceful life therein. He can't sleep peacefully as he is tormented by the thought of abandoning Ahmed and his family. He keeps recollecting Ahmed's efforts in saving him from the grips of the Taliban militants. Slowly, John is drifting towards severe PTSD, and his helplessness starts taking a huge toll on his mental health. Soon, he realizes that he has to step in and save Ahmed and his family by himself. Although he knows it is a deadly mission, he is ready to sacrifice his life to repay the debt he owes Ahmed. With the help of Declan, he devises a plan for his mission. His plan involved hiring Eddie Parker, a private security contractor, to get Ahmed out of his country since the U.S. military authority refused to help. Hiring a private security contractor is expensive, so John must remortgage his house. However, he seeks the assistance of his superior, Colonel Vokes, in getting visas for Ahmed and his family. Ahmed returns to Afghanistan under the identity of Ron K., and he meets with Eddie Parker to begin their plan of rescuing Ahmed. But the higher-ups have given Parker another contract, making it hard for him to reject it. So he can't follow John on his mission to find Ahmed's location. He gives him two options that will make him support him, if John can wait for a few hours or if he decides to find a location for Ahmed on his own. John decides to go with the latter option. He embarks on the mission solo. John meets Ahmed's brother, Ali, who only knows where his brother stays hidden. Ali is also involved in heroin trading with the Taliban, and it's due to that relationship they didn't torture him to reveal where his brother is. On sighting John, Ali comments on his blue eyes, saying it resembles Ahmed's dead son's eyes. With the help of Ali, John can locate Ahmed and his family. Ali tells him to follow one of his workers, Poya, who manages to smuggle him across the Taliban-controlled territory. However, on their way, their truck was stopped by two militants, and he had to shoot them to clear the path. But another militant, Fakhruddin, spots him and alerts the headquarters. He starts following John on the commander's order. While in the truck, Colonel Voker calls and informs John that the visas have been processed and are with Parker. John arrives at Ahmed's hiding spot and spots him working on a car engine. He calls Parker to alert him of his progress and to give him a chance to track his location as well. Parker tells him to wait at the nearest extraction spot, Darunta Dam. John walks toward Ahmed, and they exchange pleasantries like an old pal before John gets to the business of the day. He tells him the plan to move him and his family to the U.S. When John arrived at Ahmed's hiding spot, Fakhruddin recognized the two men and informed the commander. At the headquarters of Taliban's, the commander informs their boss of the news of sighting Ahmed and John, their two most wanted people, together. The boss ordered him to send their troops to the place. Ahmed and his wife, with their 3-month child, follow John, and they all enter the truck John came with. As they head to the Darunta Dam, one of the militants assigned to spy on them quickly alerts the commander, and he, in turn, alerts the troops to head to the dam. A horde of militants goes after John and Ahmed to finish the unfinished business. As they near the extraction point, John and Ahmed notice the militants following them and start shooting them. At that moment, John tries to contact Parker to alert him that they are near the extraction point, but he doesn't get any response. All 5 of them alight from the truck and run into the bridge on the dam while Taliban militants keep following them. It's a shooting spree, When they reach the extraction site, John contacts Parker again but yet no response. At this point, John and Ahmed have lost hope of getting any help as their ammunition has finished, and the Taliban didn't stop shooting. They outnumber them and have accepted the fact that they are going to die at their hands. John repeatedly tries to contact Parker, but it's all in vain. Meanwhile, Parker has discovered the true identity of Ron K and is dusting off his big weapons as he knows a grand party would be waiting for them at the extraction spot. Parker is ready to get his boots dirty for the American hero and the brave interpreter. He prepares for an AC-130 gunship and an AH-64 attack helicopter to provide air support. Back at the dam, the AC-130 and helicopter arrive and wipe out the militants. With the enemies destroyed, Parker arrives with more reinforcements. He tells John that he would have wholeheartedly supported the mission had it been he did not conceal his identity. John, Ahmed, and his family are airlifted to Bagram, where they take the flight to America. On the plane, John and Ahmed nod their head, reaffirming their respect for each other. Soon after, John drifts off into a deep sleep as the plane journeyed on. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.